You're listening to Release Your Resistance with Bex Beltran, episode 123. Welcome to Release Your Resistance. This is Bex. The only reason why any of us don't have what we want in life is because of our own resistance. Right now, I'm learning how to recognize and release my resistance, and this podcast tells you how you can release your resistance so that you can live the exact life that you want. Let's get started. Here we are in the final week of this 8-week Let Go and Surrender series. If you are just joining me now for the first time and want to go back and listen to the first week of this series, just go to bexb.org/letgo. Start there, and then you can follow each link at the bottom of each post to the rest of the episodes, and then catch up with us here in week 8. It has been so amazing for me, and I hope for you too. I have felt the effects of noticing when I'm trying to control, when I'm feeling attached, and I have reminded myself to let go, to surrender, to let things happen as they happen without attachment. I do feel more at peace and less stressed. I feel more abundant. What about you? As I was getting ready for this episode, I was delighted to see the episode number is 123. It makes me think of the phrase as easy as 123. This process isn't necessarily easy though, not for the mind, the ego. The mind wants to control, the mind wants to know how, but surrender can be as easy as 123 as you remind yourself to let go and settle in. Another way of thinking about this is releasing resistance. So this week's episode is a reminder that this is an ongoing practice. Maybe you can hear it once and apply it and incorporate it into your psyche for the rest of your life, but more likely, as each new situation and life change comes up, you will get the opportunity to relearn and reapply this information in a new way. In addition to committing to an ongoing practice, I hope you also decide to incorporate these two ideas, being a conduit and celebrating with gratitude. Here's your first reminder or instruction about how to incorporate these ideas for yourself for the rest of your life. Continue to practice, practice, practice. Maybe you can even set a reminder like on your calendar or in your phone to re-listen to this series at the start of each new year, or maybe on your birthday. You can also periodically revisit the steps to letting go. Remember, easy as 123. Number 1, clean and clear. Number 2, say no and yes. Number 3, give and receive. Every time your eyes rest on something in your space that takes up your space and your peace, just let it go. Throw it away or give it away, donate it, or maybe even destroy it if that's appropriate. Every time your mind rests on something that takes up space and your peace, let that go too. Say no to worry and complaining. Open your mind space to say yes to opportunities and possibilities. Be quick to give, and also equally to receive, especially if you have closed yourself off in the past and not allowed yourself to receive out of any old stories of putting people out or not being worthy or undeserving. Remember to release the my. So much peace can come with that little grammatical change. Instead of worrying about my house or my career, I can just think of it as a house, a career. That little 2-letter change releases so much attachment and creates so much space. Go with the flow. Think of yourself as a conduit or a pipeline for love and abundance to flow through. Let things flow, let things come to you, and let things go. Notice if you ever try to force or control or resist anything, and check in to see why you think you need or want to force or control. Why do you think you need to block if you are resisting? Why not just let things flow naturally at their pace? Why not just believe if something flows away from you, something else can flow in? Give what you want more of. If you want love, give love. If you want a successful career, help someone else's career flourish. If you want to be appreciated, give appreciation. Notice any scarcity thoughts that might come up when you think about giving so freely and generously. Are you thinking, I can't give love if I don't know if it will be accepted or reciprocated? Good catch. And actually, you can give freely without expectation. If your mind suggests, there's no correlation between me helping someone else in their career and my career improving, check that. Is that even true? Could the opposite actually be true? Could there be a correlation? What examples have you noticed of letting love, creativity, abundance, and whatever else flow through you without restricting them with scarcity or expectations? Like I mentioned, this is the 8th and final week of this series, so we can think of it like a culmination or graduation. It is definitely a cause for celebration. How do you like to celebrate? Do you make an announcement? Do you throw a party? Do you commemorate what you are celebrating? I looked up celebration in an online dictionary and I really like the answer. So I am just going to quote directly because it is so good and so applicable. Celebration is an ancient ritual. It gives us a way to feel good about ourselves and our accomplishments. When we celebrate, we are reinforcing something important to us. Without it, we simply maintain the status quo and candidly have a lot less fun. Online, that is attributed to Tim Hatcher, an associate professor with North Carolina State University. I will include the link/reference in the show notes for this episode. Back to celebration and commencement. I hope you feel good about listening to all 8 of these episodes. I hope you feel a sense of accomplishment if you have been considering these ideas and trying them out for yourself and maybe even journaling about what you are learning. Today, I want to encourage you to reinforce this topic if it is important to you. Don't just maintain the status quo. Don't just think, that was nice, and then let it fade into distant memory as you go about your life. When I think about common big deal celebrations, one example is graduation. Isn't it interesting that graduation ceremonies are called commencements? Commencement literally means let's begin. When I first created the Surrender Study Guide back in 2021, which was one of the early seeds of inspiration for the Let Go and Surrender Journal and this podcast series, Session 8 was called Living with Peace and Less Resistance. So this work culminates in or commences the promise of peace. And combining the idea of peace with the easy as 1, 2, 3 phrase I mentioned earlier, we get the fake but fun expression, easy peasy. What if that becomes a new mantra for you, a new phrase of celebration? Saying easy peasy. It sounds like a funny accent, and it reminds you to let things be easy and let yourself feel peace. Another part of celebration is giving yourself well-deserved credit. I see so much evidence all the time that we don't give ourselves enough credit, and it makes me so sad. If you are worried about going too far and becoming too full of yourself, don't worry. Number one, because we decided to say no to worry, but also remember that you can handle the situation of going too far if it comes. Don't let the possibility of being too full of yourself in the future hold you back from giving yourself credit here, now, in the present. How can you celebrate yourself right now? Just the fact that you're listening to this and considering it instead of dismissing it is something to give yourself credit for and be grateful for. Let's talk about being grateful. The fact that you can listen and consider instead of dismissing is also something to be grateful for. Gratitude is linked to better health, more sound sleep, less anxiety and depression. It is easier to be kind to others and have higher long-term satisfaction with life when you regularly practice gratitude. I highly recommend a daily practice, but you do gratitude as regularly and frequently as makes sense for you. Here's my gratitude practice. Every morning, towards the end of my journaling session, I write down 3 fresh, new things I am so thankful for. These are relatively new and unique things that took place within the last 24 hours or so. They can be major or seemingly insignificant. So some examples of recent things that I have written down that I am so thankful for are the number of people who RSVP'd to a workshop that I was hosting, all the technology available to me, my computer, the software programs I use to create workshops and podcasts, the way I can connect with people that I have never met because of technology. And number 3, the lovely discussion that we had at book club this week. I also do a bigger monthly gratitude practice called Thankful 30th. On the 30th day of each month, I make a list of 30 things I am so thankful for. Again, I try to keep these new and unique, so I'm not just listing the same 30 things each month. Although this list does tend to have more repetition from month to month, because I do want to remind myself of how thankful I am for these constant things in my life. This month, you can join me on Tuesday the 28th for Thankful 28th, if you're listening to this in February, or just do it on the 30th in any other month. Maybe this month I'll even post it on my Facebook feed, so if you and I are connected, it can remind you too. And it is already scheduled to be the prompt for the 28th in the Journaling and Friendship Facebook group. I really believe as you let go of holding on to things and trying to control them and worrying about them, once your mind acclimates to the new environment, you will notice more space to think of new ideas and realize things you never thought of before. I'm so excited for what's about to come for you. New inspirations, new connections, new motivations, new satisfactions. Here's the final verse to listen to or repeat to yourself to practice surrender. Let me remember I am limitless. I am a conduit for abundance. I transcend the boundaries of the physical world. Let life show me its divine mysteries. Let me feel whole. Let me surrender. Now that we are in the last week of this series, we are also talking about the crown chakra and the very top of Maslow's hierarchy. The crown chakra connects you to everything. This is enlightenment. If you feel connected to something beyond yourself, you are heading in the right direction. If your trust in your inner wisdom creates confidence that is not ego-driven, keep going in that direction. The very top of Maslow's hierarchy is called self-actualization. It is your full potential. You can clearly see reality and are accepting of it, not wishing things are not as they actually are. You are able to fully let go because you can fully trust. Here are this week's journal prompts. How can I let go of what needs to go? How can I openly receive whatever comes? How do I know everything is always fine? That's it. We have reached the end. Thank you so much for joining me in this series. I got so much out of creating it for you, and I hope you also got so much out of participating. Let me know your thoughts and reactions by sending me an email at hi@bexby.org or leave a comment in the show notes for this episode at bexby.org/peace, P-E-A-C-E. I have a few ideas for upcoming episodes and some videos too. And just like in season 3, I am allowing myself to be a little less structured and rigid about the episodes here in season 4. So even though we have had an episode per week for the past few months, that pace might not continue. The best way to stay connected is to make sure you are on one of my email lists. So bexby.org/favorites comes out on Fridays, and it lets you know when new episodes are coming out. And bexby.org/weekly comes out on Sundays, and it gives you a gentle journaling reminder with some prompts or affirmations or mantras. I include all my upcoming events and offers in both of those lists, and you can receive both of them, one on Friday and one on Sunday, if you want. Make sure you are subscribed to one of those lists, and also subscribe or follow this podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. We can also be connected daily for the next 60 days mentally, not actually meeting or seeing or hearing each other. So starting on Wednesday, March 1st, 2023, I am kicking off 60 days of self-awareness. Back in November, I decided to go back to the basics and do a self-awareness exercise every day, and I loved it. It got me much more in tune with what I think and feel and do. I started training my brain to naturally open to think of other possible thoughts. You can do this with me every day for 60 days in March and April and see what benefits it produces for you. You can see a short video of me explaining it when I was 17 days in, and you can get all the details by going to bexby.org/17 days. That's 17 DAYS. That is it for today and for this 8-week series. Thank you so much for listening. Hopefully, I will see you on the 1st for our 60 days of self-awareness. You know what I'm really good at? Asking questions, then listening to the answer and redirecting you if you didn't answer, then showing you your thoughts from how you answered. That is part of what coaching with me is like. I don't have an agenda for you. I don't think I know better than you. I do believe in you and your capacity. If you tell me what you want for yourself, I believe it. I can see it for you. I can show you the thoughts that are keeping you from getting what you want. Then you can drop those thoughts and go get what you want. Coaching really works. Come to my site at bexby.org/coaching and book a session with me. This has been Release Your Resistance. Thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, make sure you're subscribed and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Also, think about someone who you know who would love this episode and share it with them. There should be a share button on your app if you're listening to this on your phone. If you'd like to continue this conversation one-on-one or in real time, come visit me on my site at bexby.org to see how we can work together.